Hey everybody, this is Grant Burgess, and we are on week 4 of Hip Hop and Downtempo in Ableton Live. Today we're going to take it a little bit easier. Week 3 is pretty intense, learning all of the sampling and the warping and the slicing. So this week we're going to talk about 3 different things. The first is scenes, and then we're going to kind of mess around with how we're playing different patterns and stuff, and then I want to talk about quantizing because we haven't really gotten to that as much as we could. So if we want to start right away, let's go ahead and talk about scenes. So we have each of these tracks, and at the bottom you'll see the stop button for the tracks. So you know if you want to play this track, you press play, and then if you also want to play the breakbeat track, you press play, and you have to press stop again. And then if you want to play the drum rack track, you have to press play, and then they'll all play together. Well, there's a much easier way to get that done. So the first thing, let's go ahead and stop all these tracks. The rows here, right under kind of master in this part right here, these rows, these are called scenes. And this is especially helpful if you're playing things live, but when I'm arranging things and I want to hear how different clips sound with other clips, I often put them in their own scene, and then I'm able to play all of them and switch between them more easily. So let's go ahead and let's make a scene that contains, I just have this, we haven't tapped any, I think we did last week, but I haven't made any new MIDI clips with our Galton-McDermott samples. So let's just bring the warped sample itself in. So instead of actually just dragging it down like we could, I want to make a new one. So if we right click and duplicate, or Command D, that'll also duplicate it. Well, let's duplicate that and the breakbeat and the drum rack. So now we have all of these in scene 3. Now if we wanted to, let's say this is the verse of the track, you can always right click and rename, and we can call this the verse, or however you want to do it. So now if you press the play button over here, it's going to play all 3 of these and nothing else. So if you've got this up here playing, we're just going to play the breakbeat in scene 2. So now we see that this one is on. If I press scene 3, play over here, it's going to turn off everything else that's playing that isn't in scene 3. So I'll go ahead and press it. So that's an easy way to arrange things. If you want to, like if you're trying to put this together and you want to see, well, how will it sound if I take the drums out? So we're going to go ahead and duplicate the Galton-McDermott sample so that it's on scene 4. So if you're listening to this and you think, I want to put this together, I want to see how it would sound if the drums were taken out for 4 bars or whatever, you could just play scene 3. And that's just a real easy way to switch back and forth between them. If it doesn't sound like it's in time for you, there is up here, up in the upper left here, this is kind of, it's called your quantization menu. It basically says how quickly it will switch to the next thing that you want to play. So if you have it at 1 bar, if you press play, it won't switch to the next clip or the next scene until that bar is completed. And if you want to obviously make it, no, it needs to be 4 bars or it needs to be 1/8 note, you can kind of go in between and do all those. So I usually have mine set to 1 bar. There's a couple of occasions where I would change that up, but that's a little bit further on down the road. So that's how scenes work. It's pretty straightforward. It's really useful for when you are arranging a piece and you want to be able to just kind of build the entire track the way you want it, and then play the scenes, and then you kind of record them to your timeline view, which we're going to get to soon, and they will record directly over to the timeline, so it's really simple. So the next thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and stop all of these and arm this track. So remember, these are our 4 slices, and they're just each bar of the Galt McDermott sample. The next thing I want to talk about is different ways that you can play these. Now, obviously, you're going to get to play around with these or any other sample that you might be using, so this should be pretty intuitive, but I've put together just a slightly different sample pattern that might sound cool on its own. Obviously, the easiest way to do this would be to play it the way that it was originally recorded. So let's go ahead and make sure the release is all the way up. So if we play the first bar, second bar, third bar, fourth bar, and it's going to loop like that. That's like the easiest way, but what was the point in even slicing it up if you're going to do that? So I've kind of come up with a different way of doing it. I'm actually going to use this scene, but I'm going to take the full sample out. So just take that out. So now we've got a scene that just plays our drums for us. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a view of what I'm doing on my sampler while I do a different pattern with this. So you can follow along and do it as well, whatever's most helpful for you. I'm just going to press record. Remember, it's going to give me one bar of a lead in over here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and record in, I think, like an 8-bar clip. Okay, let's just leave it like that. So now I've done, if you double click on the clip itself, you can see that I've done some, they're still, pretty straightforward as far as where they're placed. I've done a couple of different things just to switch it up a little bit. Now you'll notice that if you zoom in, obviously these aren't right on the line. What I want to do is I want to get these right in time with the music. So I want to quantize. Now, we've talked a little bit about quantize. We've kind of hinted at it. So I want to get a little bit more into detail with it. It's a contentious thing because some people think that you shouldn't quantize at all because that human feel is way more important or whatever. But when you're depending on the kind of music you want to make, you might want to quantize. So the first thing that you need to notice is down here in the bottom right. It'll say 1/8. Yours might say 1/16 or 1/32. This is basically just saying this is where the grid is set up. So you'll see these vertical lines here. Anytime you quantize, the beginning of each note will move to the closest vertical line next to it. And so if you want to not have it move so far, you can, if you zoom in, you'll see at the bottom right, now it changed to 1/16 and 1/32, and it goes down to, I think that's the closest, 16,384th. So you can get really close in there, but 1/8 is fine because we're doing these hits. They're right on the counts, so pretty simple. So if you right-click, you can quantize. If you just press quantize, the general setting is, kind of the default setting is that it will quantize to the grid that's already on there. So if you press quantize, it'll go to the closest 8th note. If you want to get more exact with that, you can go into quantize settings and you can say quantize to current grid, 1/4, and you can go all the way down like that. You can adjust the beginnings of the notes or the ends of the notes, and then the amount will adjust how much it actually moves the note. But we're going to go ahead and cancel that, and we're just going to press quantize, knowing that it goes to the current grid. So if you press quantize, you'll see all these notes kind of fall in line right where they're supposed to be. So if we play them again with the beat, they should be perfectly in time. Yeah, so that sounds pretty even to me. And I think that's probably all we're going to get to today. Those are, they're not huge things, but they're really important things to know. Being able to tap different patterns, being cool with playing with those different patterns. Those are, I mean, that's really central to working with any sample-based music, and knowing your scenes. If you were to take this pattern here and you wanted to switch it up for just one section, having a different scene where it has the drums again, the breakbeat again, but this one was different. Right here was different. That's kind of what you'd use scenes for. And then quantizing is something that you're gonna want to play with a lot to see how important that is to you. And then the more you get into quantizing, the more you'll get into what's called these grooves over here. The different ways of quantizing that aren't so straight. There's some swing that you can apply to it, but we're going to get to that much later. So yeah, just get this down. Make sure that you are comfortable with everything in week 3, because that's kind of the sticking point. That's the hill to get over. And these week 4 and week 5 are really the finer points. So that's it for this week. I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.